Okay, so it's time for me to check out the Far Cry New Dawn. I know I'm kind of late in the game on this one, but what can I say, man? Ubisoft, when it comes to HDR, they got it. They got that formula. They know how to tone map properly. They have that magic. They know it. My advice to everyone is who is developing video games, if you want to use HDR, hire the team from Ubisoft to properly tone map your levels in the game. All right, so let's jump into the Far Cry New Dawn. I'm gonna kind of give you my thoughts on it and how it looks on the OLED E8. This is the E8 55-inch 2018 last year OLED, and I'm gonna give you some settings that I'm using for this particular game on the E8 OLED. So let's get right on this, shall we? This is Xbox One X version, just to clarify that. Why? Because the game it's running in native 4K. Not only are you getting a stunning HDR, but you're also getting a native 4K. And this is where Xbox One X comes in. For this game, among many other native 4K games, listen guys, Xbox One X has a lot of native 4K games out there that you can truly showcase on your television. All right. So let's jump in with HDR settings here, shall we? HDR slider settings. All right, this is a very important part right here, the Paperwhite. And you see those clouds. Actually, let me zoom in. Hold on. You see those clouds above that church on a house, and whatever you want to call it. Those clouds out there, right now, they have a nice definition. Okay, you can see the sky blue, you can see the gray, you can see the white. You see a good definition on the cloud. Remember, and that's what you're looking for. You want a good definition. Now, majority of you would do this. You would crank up your Paperwhite all the way to 500. Guys, when you do that, yes, you get a brighter screen. But guess what? You're not getting a good definition on your white bright levels. Now you are overblowing your white bright levels. You see how the shadow here, it's being overblown. Okay, everything's being overblown. This is what you don't want to do. So what's the trick here? Well, let's go down slowly and let's see. Where do you think we should end up here? You see we're getting a nice definition of shadows here. So where should we leave it at? This is where you should leave it at 260. Honestly, this is my opinion. I would go 260 or 240. Let me see, 260 or 240. 260. I'm pretty sure Evil Boris will disagree with me on this one, but I like what I'm seeing right now with my own two eyes to see a much better definition on a 260 here. So I would keep it right here on a 260. And clearly you can see the clouds and you can see a much better definition on the shadows here. So I'm doing this without any editing, though I'm doing it uncut so you guys can see it. So I would leave it at 260 right here. Remember, the idea of HDR, it's natural dynamic picture quality. Okay, we're looking for a picture quality. That's what we're looking for when it comes to high dynamic range. So leave it on a 260 for the OLED. Okay, and I think this probably will be pretty much the same for the QLED as well. And another thing I would advise you guys to turn off totally is the grain, film grain level. This filter just, it makes the quality look even worse. I would just totally just turn it to 0. Just turn that sucker off. Either turn it to 0 or 3. But I would totally just turn it off. Okay, you don't want that crap. All right, so here I am right now checking out the beginning of the game, the Xbox One X version, native 4K with HDR, and as you expect, it really looks good, man. Again, this is Ubisoft. They know how to properly implement the HDR, and even right here in a dark scene, there's my hand. You can see it. I'm watching this on the OLED. You see, the 260 Paperwhite HDR slider was a perfect choice. All right, so let me give you some more thoughts on this, and then I'm going to show you the settings at the end that I'm using on this OLED. It looks pretty good. There's my controller right here. Really, there's barely any input lag. It's really smooth, considering this is native 4K. Let me jump down here. Let me just see how this looks. This looks beautiful, man. This HDR here, it's really nice. Now, what do I mean? What do I mean by a really good HDR? What I mean by a really good HDR is the tone mapping. I know I keep repeating this like a broken record, but guys, you have to remember that's the key. That's what makes HDR look good. It's a proper tone mapping, and Ubisoft just simply gets it. They know how to do it properly. All right, let's move on here. Look. Very impressed so far. The HDR here, it's really as good as Division. Honestly, this is as good as Division. I mean, it's really done well. And this is at night, and I like what I'm seeing here. Very nice. Including here's the thing. When you have a native 4K resolution with a proper HDR tone mapping, and then you use OLED television, you're really gonna be just immersed into the experience, you know, with this game. And I knew right away when someone told me, hey, there's a new Far Cry game. I was like, oh yeah, Ubisoft, sure, native 4K HDR. I was like, yeah, it's gonna look good. It's gonna look good, and it does look good. This is how Red Dead Redemption 2 should have looked, like this with the HDR. This is how Red Dead Redemption 2 should have looked with a proper HDR. But now Rockstar has even stripped down the ambient occlusion, which is kind of ridiculous. And look at this. Look at the way the shadow it's reflecting here, the way the light it's reflecting as well. That's just great, man. Very nice. I mean, look, you will just know it when you play this game for the first time on the QLED or on the OLED. You will notice just how beautiful the HDR really here is. No matter where you look, the HDR just looks great. Okay, maybe I can take one photo here, just kind of like to showcase the HDR here a little bit like this. Hold on. I took a photo. I mean, look at this. Look how beautiful this looks, man. This is great. It's got all the weapons and everything. Let me liberate this person. Yeah, this is great, man. Very impressed. Very impressed what I'm seeing here. Not just in terms of HDR, but also in terms of performance here. It looks pretty good. Especially right here. The HDR just blossoms here. Alright, so let me go ahead and give you my settings really quick. Okay, let me give you my settings. Let me show you what I'm using here. Okay. Alright, so first thing first, let's go to my settings. Right here. I am using game mode, of course, HDR game mode. Let's go to the settings. Let's click on them. Remember, guys, you have to have OLED light to the 100, and you gotta have a contrast to the 100 if you want to take the advantage of the HDR. You have to have those at the maximum level. Brightness needs to be left at 50. Sharpness, it's left at 3. Right here, sharpness is left at 3. People ask me, why do I leave the sharpness at 3? Because this is a native 4K game, so there's really no reason for you to be moving that sharpness all the way to the 20 or 25, okay, because you got a native 4K crisp detail here. Color at 53, I feel this is a great value to avoid any kind of color oversaturation. Color temperature for the games, guys, I like to keep it in the middle. This is what I mean, keep it in the middle. Don't move it to the W for the warm, and don't move it to the cold blue. I like to keep it in the middle between the warm and between the cold blue. So between the yellow sepia and cold blue, I like to keep it in the middle. So that way we have a nice balanced color here and a picture quality. Alright, moving on to picture options. Noise reduction, I always keep this on auto. All of this stuff I keep on auto. This is the important part. Black level, keep it at high. You know, the reason you want to keep it at high because you have OLED, and OLED has the best possible pitch black, deep dark levels, so you want to keep the black levels at high. True motion, this is optional. I use it, doesn't bother me, but if you guys don't want to use it, I totally understand. I use it here because A9 chip has a really good motion flow, so I use it here. And anything else? Let me see. Dynamic contrast, another thing I use here. It's dynamic contrast. You want to use this because you're using the HDR. Dynamic tone mapping as well. All of this stuff you want to use. Use dynamic contrast high. Use dynamic tone mapping. Use dynamic color as well. And set color gamut at wide. Super resolution, you can leave it at high. That's fine. Gamma, you can't mess with the gamma because it's OLED. Why would you mess with the gamma on the OLED? So that's pretty much what I'm using here, and I'm very impressed so far with what I'm seeing here in terms of performance and the quality and everything. Again, I never disappointed now with Ubisoft when it comes to HDR. Like I said, I'm looking forward to more of Ubisoft HDR games. They just simply they know how to do it properly, dude. They get it, which is kind of sad that others are not taking notes from Ubisoft on how to properly implement HDR. Because currently, right now, they're the only ones. I can't think of any other company right now that does a better HDR than Ubisoft. Maybe okay, Forza Horizon Playground Games turned 10 for the Forza, but other than that, yeah, dude. I mean, Ubisoft all the way, bro. Look at this tone mapping here, just beautiful, dude. Beautiful. I don't even need a software to look at this to measure the tone mapping. It's just right, dude. Just looks great. And I know it's going to be hard for you guys to see this HDR here because you can't. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's impossible for you to see HDR through a camera. Even though I'm using my Sony camera here, that has more megapixels, but still, you'll just have to trust me, man. This looks really good. Another thing I want to say is the HDR Paperwhite at 260. I'm going to test to see if the 260 will work on the QLED. I'm going to do that video today when I'm going to test the QLED television to see how this game looks on the QLED. I'm also going to test Just Cause 4, and I'm also going to test another game, V-Rally 2.0. It's running in native 4K, so I want to test that as well. But I'm pretty sure that 260 Paperwhite value, it's just a perfect, as I like to call it, icing on the cake. So remember, guys, you want to, first thing first, you want to turn off the film grain. Guys, turn this crap off. You really don't need this filter. It's just going to make it look worse. Turn this filter off. You don't need this crap. Because remember, you want the HDR quality with that native 4K. So turn that crap off. Turn the film grain level to the 0. Turn it off. HDR settings. This is my value. This is what I recommend. Make sure you use Paperwhite 260. Now I'm pretty sure, Evil Boris will disagree with me on this one, but that's okay. I firmly believe that this should work on the QLED. I'm going to test this on the QLED, and you will guys see most likely that it's going to be the same exact result. Especially on QLED, because QLED it's a very bright TV, and I think even for QLED this will be perfect. Remember, the reason we don't want to go too much on the Paperwhite because we want to avoid overblowing our white bright level detail. Remember, we talk about tone mapping. Remember, we talk about definition of the detail. Okay, if you overblow the Paperwhite all the way to the 400 or 500, then you're not going to see a definition of shadows. You're not going to see a definition of these clouds. Remember, you want to have that three-dimensional dynamic picture quality, and that's the key here, the key word. Okay, so there you have it. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna see you guys later on with some more videos today. And I'm also gonna test this on a QLED to see how the 260 HDR Paperwhite value looks on a QLED. All right, guys. Don't forget to watch my Q&A that I did last night. Yesterday on Sunday, episode 17. We'll do episode 18 this coming Sunday again. And as far as the Guns of the Patriots, we will continue Guns of the Patriots, but I just don't know when we're going to continue. But we'll most likely continue it on Friday, part 2. All right, well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Again, Ubisoft is the king of the HDR. That's it. Ubisoft is the king of the HDR. There you have it.